everyone, this is Jackie, aka Jax. Welcome back to Museum Diaries. It's been a while. Let me turn down the air for you. You know, I took a break from everything when Veronica passed away, and I had some help along the way. And as I started healing, I came across Billy Carson. Billy Carson, he's the author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. He studies ancient theology, ancient history, cuneiform tablets, Sumerian tablets, Egyptian literature, architecture. He's very knowledgeable in his field, and his beliefs will make you question your biblical beliefs. I mean, I don't know. So this journey started for me when I was little. It was weird. I was between 8 and 10. We lived in this old house, and right across from the house was a big empty field. Eventually they built houses on it. But in my room, I had 2 visitors more than once. And they had bright red eyes, and they were dressed all dark. You couldn't see like a face. It was all shadowy, but they had very bright red eyes, and they would watch me, and I didn't understand, you know. Well, I tried to go to sleep more than once. So that happened. Forgot about that. And I don't know, maybe I don't know, maybe I'll ask Billy about that. But I also remember when I was in kindergarten, my first day in kindergarten, I was like 5 years old. I went in the classroom and I saw a big map of the world. It was big. You know, I was little at the time, so it looked big to me. And I stood there, and I was the last student to sit down. The teacher came to grab me to lead me to my seat. And I was explaining to her that the world was a map. That all the continents, or the land, okay, 5 years old, the land, it all connected together. So I was explaining to her Pangea. I didn't even know it was Pangea at 5 years old. What am I going to know about Pangea at 5 years old? You know what I mean? So that was kind of odd. And I just never really felt like I quite fit in. You know, Veronica really understood me. She understood my mental disorder. I have schizoaffective disorder, and being here at this event, this event hosted by Billy Carson with Forbidden Knowledge and his wife, it should be interesting. I'm curious to see if there's any pastors here from churches, to see what kind of questions they have. And there's going to be a movie on the Anunnaki, and I became aware of the Anunnaki after I became aware of the Nephilim in the Bible, which are the giants. And we know there were giants. There was Goliath, you know. So, okay. I'm trying to, not confuse anybody, but the Anunnaki were mentioned in the books of Zecharia Sitchin, and I read his material. Look him up, Zecharia Sitchin. He wrote the Earth Chronicles, and in the Earth Chronicles, there's a book called The 12th Planet, and he talks about how these giant beings came here from Nibiru, which is a planet that has an elliptical orbit around our sun, but doesn't come around very often. Well, they needed to mine the earth for gold because their atmosphere was depleting, and they needed gold for their atmosphere. So anyway, that's as far as I'm going to talk about that. Billy Carson is well aware of Zecharia Sitchin. I'm sure he's read all his books. And then some. And multiple, some. You know what I mean? So I'm going to let you go here. And I'll see you when I get to the event. I'm a little paranoid. I have to take a couple deep breaths. It took a lot for me to be here. You know, I struggle with paranoia. One of the things I hope I don't forget to ask Billy, if I get a chance to, is if he's ever been persecuted. Like by the Vatican, or major Christian organizations, or, you know, or if he's still being persecuted, you know, because his thoughts and his research doesn't fit within our matrix box, you know, our little three-dimensional matrix box. His thoughts are outside of that. And it's pretty huge because, you know, I had an experience, an out-of-body experience, where God literally pulled me out of my body because I was asking him and I was meditating on him to show himself to me, to reveal yourself to me. And he pulled me out of the earth, and he pulled me out of our solar system, and he just kept pulling me, and I was like, you know, like a wormhole, it felt like. And I was just seeing everything that was the universe, but the universe itself was a being, a massive entity. It was the most bizarre thing, and when I understood that, the voice said to me, and I woke up, "Now you understand." And it was very deep. So I was like, wow, that's a trip. So these are some of the weird experiences that I've had. I don't want to deal with counterintelligence, if there's any here, because you never know. You know, anytime there's a radical thought out there, the government tends to put their nose in it. So if I sense anything with anyone, I'll let you know. Okay, you guys, thanks for listening. I've made it to the inside of the event. As you can see, it's busy. I'm in line. They said they were taking VIP first, but I have my ticket. My ticket's right here. It's right here. So we'll see if I can get in. And I'm in the theater. It's an IMAX theater. And my lens is going bad, so I don't think you can see the theater, the seating, because it's so dark in here. I don't know how we're gonna get to ask questions to Billy. I found out that I cannot film during the movie. But I know he's going to open it up with questions and answers. And he's the author of the Compendium of Emerald Tablets. Some people brought their books for him to sign. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I can sit pretty much anywhere I want. And I think I'm going to sit in these front rows right here. And I'm trying to see if there's anything I forgot to tell you. Yeah, so I've read my Bible, and I got involved with the Mormons, the Book of Mormon, for a bit, and their covenants. I felt like I escaped that. I was on medication for my schizoaffective disorder, so that was just a horrible experience. My paranoia was through the roof. I purchased the Apocrypha, which has the rejected scriptures from the Bible, like the book of Adam and Eve, the book of Mary Magdalene, the book of Judas. There's a few books. The book of Enoch. I've read the book of Enoch. So The Book of Enoch really makes you question scripture a bit, or leaves you with questions. So I'm gonna enjoy the show. I will probably talk to you after. All right. Okay, everyone, welcome back. I want to let you know how the event was. I went to the event, which was hosted by Billy Carson and Elizabeth Carson with Forbidden Knowledge. It was across the street from the Ritz-Carlton, so parking was expensive. I did not expect to pay $40. That ate into my budget. When I got there, they were taking the VIPs first, and then, you know, eventually I was told I couldn't record, so I didn't record, but I wanted to give you an update of how it went. I got to talking to just a couple people as I waited in line at the concession stand. I already went and found my seat. It was the front section where there's nobody that sits in the back next to you. It's just like carpet, and then you move into another section, higher section. So I had a very good seat to the event, and the VIP section was actually behind me, and the whole front row is for the regular payers of the event. So I got a good seat, and the theater got really filled, and right before the show started, I had my camera bag. The whole row was filled except for 2 seats. My camera bag was on the right seat, and the seat next to my camera bag was empty. So I saw this young, beautiful couple looking for seats, and they came over to me because there's just, you know, there's no seats behind me. So they came over to me, they saw 2 seats, but they saw my camera bag in my seat, and they said, are these seats taken? And I said, no, as a matter of fact, I'll move my camera bag for you. You got some good seats right here. Come on over, come on. And they were thrilled. They were thrilled to get the seats that they got. They came through, they sat next to me, and we got to talking about Terrence Howard. You know the actor Terrence Howard? He's in some deep stuff. He really goes into the flower of life, the geometry behind the flower of life, and how nothing is linear, everything is in a wave, which, you know, I just kind of, what's so weird is after I had those visits from those strange beings, they wore dark hats, you know. They weren't like CIA or nothing. They were out of this world. But I was told by someone not too long ago that they were grays cloaked as the shadow figures that I saw, because if they exposed themselves as a gray, it would probably terrify me. So ever since that happened as a child, things were never the same. I never saw the world the same. I didn't feel like I fit into the world. I always felt like something was off, and I just kind of knew things. I just kind of innately knew things. It's almost like, I don't know if it happened or not, but it's kind of like your DNA changes. Something in you changes when you wake up. When you wake up from the Matrix, you know, it's interesting. Billy was talking about the movie The Matrix and how, you know, there's a lot that goes on in our neocortex. And he's said, you know, that's why they called Neo from the Matrix, because of the neocortex. So anyhow, before I went in to get my seat, I noticed a man in a suit that was talking to people, and I was trying to figure out who he was. As I was standing in line at the concession stand, the gentleman to my right, he said, he goes, oh, he works with Billy. He works with Billy. He goes, let me go talk to him real quick. So he got out of line. I stayed in line. I held his place. When he came back, I said, you know what? I want to go talk to him. So he stood in line, held my place. I went out of line to the concession stand, and I wanted to talk to him, not knowing. I didn't ask him his name or anything. I just said, hey, listen, I said, I just have a simple question. And I explained to them about the visitors that I had when I was young. And trying to understand what that was. And he says, you know, he tapped me on my shoulder and he goes, you know what? He goes, everybody in this theater has had a similar experience. And I felt like, wow, okay. So I automatically, like, that paranoid feeling, that anxiousness that I was feeling, it started going away because I felt like, okay, I'm not the only weirdo here. And believe it or not, there were no weirdos there. There were people there from all walks of life. And these people were there, you know, probably for the same reason I was there, which is to learn more. And he went in, and I went and sat down on my seat, and I started talking to the couple next to me that came and sat next to me about how I had asked them a question. And then the man that was sitting to my left, he just mumbles, that was Jimmy Church. I said, Jimmy Church? He goes, yes. He goes, I said, is he a partner with Billy? He goes, no. No. He goes, he's on, I think he's on the podcast with Billy Carson, and they know each other very well through those circles. I'm sure eventually, and I hope eventually, I don't know that Billy Carson has been on the Joe Rogan show, but it'd be interesting for him to kind of get that publicity and get on the Joe Rogan show and just kind of share what he knows with people. So I ended up meeting Jimmy Church, and at the end of the event, they took all the VIP questions first. They started with VIP only. And then eventually they moved down to others, and there were only like 3 questions that were able to be asked from the regular crowd. And I raised my hand to ask a question, and the announcer said, you know, this is going to be our last question, which was the lady before me. So I said, darn it. I said, you know, I have to know. I have to know if Billy's ever been persecuted, or his family, by the Vatican or by anyone. And I didn't get to ask my question. And then I'm going to tell you why I'm asking this question in a little bit. Okay? But so we exited the theater, and I happened to be close to Billy when he was exiting the theater, because I was close to the exit. I made sure I got up and left as fast as I could, because I wanted to try and catch up to him to ask him that question about persecution. So I finally got towards the exit of the theater, and he strayed off from his wife and his son, and I took that opportunity right there to ask his wife the question. I said, Elizabeth, I said, hi. I said, I have a very important question to ask you. And I got her attention. And I mean, it was busy. There was a lot of people. I'm sure there were people trying to get him. Like when we were walking out, he went over to the other side, and it looked like he was signing books for people, which was really cool. And I asked her, I said, have you ever been, because of your research, have you ever been persecuted by the Vatican or by anyone? She looked at me and she said, no. I said, okay. And that was it. And I said, thank you. And I left. And the reason why I asked about persecution, you guys, is because it's real. I experienced it. And it got to the point where I literally went crazy. I went crazy, you know. I got diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. I went through hell. I went through so much persecution. It was, I don't wish that on anybody. And one of the reasons why I went through persecution is because I was doing things they're out of the ordinary, out of the norm, you know, out of the normal structure of society, you know. I got involved with a group that's no longer on Facebook. I did a lot of work for them, Citizens Action Network. And through them, my boss at the time was Michael School. He doesn't even exist on Facebook anymore. So I got involved. I started interviewing people. We headed out to the Bundy Ranch in Nevada when the Bureau of Land Management confiscated their land and their cattle. I went out there twice. The second time I got dressed up in full militia gear. I got to practice shooting with the militia out there, and I have footage of that. Maybe eventually someday I'll air it for you. I'm not in a hurry to do so because you know, some of the people that I took photographs of, I'm sure, ended up at the White House on January the 6th when they had that big protest and break-in to the Capitol. You know, so I don't know, we'll see. I'll think about it. But after that and getting involved with the militia, I felt like I was followed a lot. When the militia first started gathering at the Bundy Ranch, my boss told me to create a flyer because I studied graphic design and photography in college. So I was able to put together logos for some of the militia. I was able to create flyers for some of the militia. I never met Stuart Rhodes, but I was in his circle of friends. Unfortunately, Stuart Rhodes ended up at the Capitol on January 6th. He's the founder of the Oath Keepers. Got to mingle with them, the Oath Keepers at the Bundy Ranch. And he's in jail now. I can't believe it, you know? And these are people that strongly believe in their Second Amendment and the Constitution. And it got kind of scary because the militia, I took a lot of photographs. I took photographs of snipers, militia with their guns, the BLM on one side. They're totally on the other side of the freeway holding the cattle hostage, and we were on the freeway. There were snipers on the freeway pointed at the Bureau of Land Management officers, and the Bureau of Land Management officers had snipers pointed at our snipers, and it was just crazy, you know. I got to see a whole different world. I got interviewed by some Idaho radio station. I can't remember the name, but I was interviewed by a radio station, and I told them that I felt like this was a revolution. You know, this is what a revolution looks like. This is what a domestic battleground looks like. And I got emotional and I cried because I never thought I'd see something like this in America, you know? I mean, the people versus the government, and there's weapons involved. That's pretty crazy. But towards the end, the people won. The people won. The Bureau of Land Management opened their gates. All the cowboys were out there on their horses, militia, the people, the Bundys. I got to eat lunch inside the Bundys' home. I met them, loved them, wonderful people, humble, very humble people. You know, you would think because they have so much land, and that's one of the things I was trying to say is look at the land patents. You know, the BLM claims the land, but if you look at the land patent, you're probably going to more than likely discover that it has an error, you know? And so the property that the Bundys had, you know, they had land patents to it. They inherited that land. So they got their cattle back. Unfortunately, some of their cows, some of their bulls were killed, and they opened up pits. They dug up pits and they tried to bury them, but the Bundys found the evidence. They found the evidence of what the Bureau of Land Management did, And it was just foul, you guys. That was foul. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And then I got involved with the group Anonymous. That was wild, you know. That was wild. All I'm going to say about that is there were people that were working in the, I want to say the Citibank Tower, downtown LA, and they sent my group out. Back then it was Anonymous Shocking Current Events. Now they're known as ClownSec on Facebook. But they still kept my folder. If you go to ClownSec Current Events, CLOWNSEC, you will see a folder titled Anon's Chicks Pics Post. And you'll see all the pictures I took from the protests that I went to, from the people that I met, from some of the graphic design that I did for ClownSec now, ClownSec Current Events on Facebook. But if you look at their photos and look at their albums, I have an album in there, and it's called Anon Chicks Pics Post. So if you want to look that up on Facebook. I ended up typing up the letter that got posted all around the Citibank Tower. I went with 3 other people, and the employees that were working in the building at the time were fearing for their lives because they said they started seeing white vans very early in the morning. They didn't know what they were doing there. They didn't know why they were working in the stairs, and they showed us the insurance policy, and it was indicating damage caused by terrorist events. I have all this information. I have it on a drive, but for some reason I'm not able to open my drive. I try to open it right now so I can, you know, at least include some of these photos and show you my proof, but we warned everybody that there was going to be a false flag event in Los Angeles, and it made the news. It made the news. My handler at the time, because these people I figured out were handlers, you know, and some of them were probably plants, some of them were counterintelligence, some of them were undercover. You know, it was just, I was exposed to this world of counterintelligence, propaganda, plants, undercover agents. You know, when I was involved with the militia, it was gnarly. Whoa, you know. I don't have my Second Amendment right anymore. The government took that right away from me from owning a weapon because I have been institutionalized. The last time I was institutionalized, I've been institutionalized twice. This was before I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. And the second time, the district attorney in Kern County in Bakersfield, she took my right to ever own a weapon. Or at least for 10 years, I think. And the 10 years has passed, and, you know, I don't know. I don't think that I will ever own a weapon, you know, because when I get really depressed, you know, I'll shoot myself. I just know that I will. So I'm no good with a gun. Or I'll shoot people. People that deserve to be shot. So I'm no good with a gun. And Veronica, who I lived with, she couldn't own any weapons because she was an ex-felon. She served 23 years in prison. God, I loved her so much. And then the last thing, the very last thing that I did really got me in trouble. And this is where I experienced persecution hardcore. Big time. I was staying at my parents' momentarily a few years ago actually, and they had a library close to them, so I ended up going to the library. And my research was on the Jesuits. the organization, you know, I think it's called what, the Society of Jesus Christ, or the International Society of Jesus Christ, the Jesuits, anyway. And I found out a lot about their history, their creator, how we first finally in history had a Jesuit Pope, which is Pope Francis. And the founder of the Jesuits was Ignatius Loyola, and I think he's a saint now. They made him a saint, Saint Ignatius Loyola. So they were banned. The Jesuits for a time were banned from countries because of their wicked ways. They were known to instigate wars, to start wars, just to create wealth, you know. I don't want to talk anymore about that, but I'm going to show you the JPEG that I created. And you can study the image, look at it closely, and it'll give you an idea of where I went with my research. It was a 10-page paper that I published. And I got over 1,000 views instantly, like overnight. And it pissed off the Jesuits. It pissed off the Vatican. They sent Jesuits after me. Not necessarily to hurt me, I don't think. And I'll never know. But I think, I honestly felt like they were trying to plot my murder. They were trying to unalive me. Because I worked as a security guard after I published my article in the Image, which makes them look really bad. A man walked up to the store to walk in, and as he's walking into the store, he drops a coin about this big. He drops it in front of me. And he goes in the store. I go and I pick up the token because I'm going to give it back to him. Obviously, I saw him drop it. I know it's his. So I decided I'm going to pick it up and then give it back to him when he walks out. So I pick up the token and I look at it. And it's a Jesuit token. It's a token that is specifically given to Jesuits of the Jesuit order. And I knew right then and there, okay. Alright. And then as time went by, I started seeing church cars from the Catholic Church, black cars. They were parking in my parking lot. And I just felt really weird about things, you know. Why is the fire department having an exercise in my parking lot? And then I started feeling like they're going to false flag me and make it look like I was an innocent bystander or something. And I just felt so uncomfortable, and my paranoia was so bad. I started leaving work at times. So that happened, and then I decided to move. To escape. And I would hear footsteps at my door late at night. I mean, it was not good, you know? It was not good. And I decided to move. I transferred out of Bakersfield. I transferred out of Kern County and ended up working in Thousand Oaks. So I worked there, like 2 months went by. And there was always this weird security guard camping out in the parking lot. I didn't understand what he was doing there. You know, but part of me felt like he was watching me. And so this man comes into the store I was working at. It was like a pharmacy. He walks in. He looks at me and he says to me, "So this is where you are now." And my mind went berserk. You know, I froze. And right then and there, I just knew he's probably a Jesuit. And then he starts talking to me without me saying anything to him. I was just shocked. I was standing there shocked that he said, so this is where you are now. And then he starts talking to me about his father, who's a Jesuit, wanting to get information out of me. I didn't trust him. Not one bit. So, I cut the conversation short, pretended I didn't know anything, and he left. You know, one time I was followed by a Maserati, a blue Maserati. When I left Bakersfield, I was followed. I know it sounds crazy. Maybe it was my paranoia. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But I felt followed. And then one time, I went to the FBI. I straight up went to the FBI. I sent them a truth affidavit of all my experience. I went to the FBI. And I told them that there was I was trying to explain to them that there was a silent Holocaust happening. And it's actually happening all over the world. And the agent came out, we sat in a room, she sat across from me with a notepad, and she didn't take any notes. She didn't take any notes. She just listened to me, and she explained to me that people are dying every day all over the world. You know, that what I was trying to tell her was nothing new, basically. Yeah, people die every day. And she escorted me out. And I must have stayed there parked for about 2 hours because the security from the administrative building of the FBI in Sacramento, they came to my car and they're like, are you okay? Is everything okay? And I had the dogs with me at the time. I had Snickers and Spartacus. And I said, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just waiting here just for a little while. I'll get going. And I eventually left. So I'm a hermit. I stay home. I don't get involved in anything. But one of the things that I really, really like, after asking Elizabeth Carson if they deal with persecution, and she said no, that gives me the green light, you guys, to research. And to bring my research to you, not to convince you of anything, really. I just want to share with you what I learned. And, you know, one of the best things to do is definitely start by reading your Bible. Start by reading your Bible. And, you know, it's very inspirational. It's got a lot of great content in there, a lot of great stories, a lot about love and salvation and forgiveness, being all loving. You know, it's all there. Good book to begin with. But then, you know, one of the things that Billy Carson did mention is, if God is all loving, all knowing, why in the book of Deuteronomy did he kill 3 million people? So these are just some of the things that were brought up at the event that kind of, you know, make you think a little bit. Like, yeah, really, you know, why would God want to murder so many people? You know, maybe they were just plain evil. I know, like in Sodom and Gomorrah, you know, they were destroyed because they were very evil. But apparently we've had technology thousands and thousands of years ago. We've had technology better than the technology we have today, is what's been discovered in all the emerald tablets and all the ancient writings and depictions that they have found through excavations all over the world. So, I'm going to show you real quick my Bible. Napoleon got a hold of it, so he kind of started chewing on it right here. Right here. But this is my Bible. You know, I have highlights throughout it. I have markers, I have notes, and highlights. And then I decided to take it further because I read the book of Enoch. So I decided to study the Encyclopedia of Lost and Rejected Scriptures, the Apocrypha. This is what I'm researching now. This is what I'm reading now. And like I told you, there's books in there that were rejected from the Bible. When they had the Nicaea Council back in the day, they decided what books were going to be implemented into the King James Bible. So now there's a lot of translations. The NIV version, New King James version. I've seen different versions. So that's a lot I've said. And the last thing I'm going to say is, back in the day when I was involved with the protest group Anonymous, and they have videos all over YouTube, but word got out that there were postings all over the Citibank Tower in LA that it was going to collapse, that it was going to come down. They were probably going to make it look like an airplane flew through it. But the employees there felt like they were putting in bombs throughout the building, and that's when we went public with what we knew. And what I didn't like was that my handler tried to get me to do an interview with Al Jazeera, and I said, why would I do an interview with Al Jazeera, exposing myself, exposing my face to the world when we're supposed to be anonymous? And at that point, I kind of started having a little bit of friction with them. But my handler sent me to another handler. He says, you know what, I think you're going to do really good if you move on to Citizens Action Network. Because he knew the woman that ran Citizens Action Network. And when I got involved with Citizens Action Network, I used to manage close to 50 of their pages on Facebook. This all happened on Facebook. I never met any of these people in person up until I went to the Bundy Ranch. So, but that's it. That's all I want to say. Thank you for listening. I know that Veronica would want me to explore and research things that really aren't going to put me in any kind of trouble. But open my mind. You know, she was a believer in Christ, in Jesus Christ. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. But at the same time, there's so much more that we don't know, but we are beginning to know. We are beginning to know. Thank you to all the authors that have put together all the books and all the research throughout the world, throughout their excavations, archaeology, theology. I mean, it's a big world out there of knowledge, and I'm just going to research as I go along. And as I go along, I will explain some of this stuff to you as best as I can, and I will back up what I share with you, so that way you don't think I'm just talking loony, okay? Because I can talk loony, you know. So that's it, everybody. Thank you for listening. I'll see you on the next Museum Diaries. Our website is currently down right now. MuseumAmericana.com is down. Since Veronica passed away, there were no funds available. I have not been able to come up with the $300 to bring the website back up. But once it's back up, I am going to get it there. It's just going to take a little time. Be patient with me, guys. But once I get the website back up, I'm going to look into ancient art, and share some of this stuff with you, because I think it's important. I think it's important. Okay, you guys, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.